Well, good evening and welcome to the broadcast tonight. I do hope you are well from wherever you are watching the Dialogue KE with me, Sammy Adika, and Boniface Mreithi at the right bottom side of your screen right there as our sign language interpreter. Now, starting us off is that Kericho County Governor Eric Mutai has survived impeachment after the Senate earlier today voted to stop impeachment proceedings against the county boss. Now, Mutai argued that Kericho County Assembly failed to achieve the 2/3 threshold for his ouster. Now, 34 senators voted to uphold the governor's objection against 10 who voted to have the impeachment hearing continue.
Honorable Senators, the result for the division is as follows. Ayes at 34, nays at 10, abstention at 0. So the ayes have it. Sergeant at arms, you may now withdraw the bar and open the door. Now, Honorable Senators, the motion having been approved, the hearing proceedings on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Dr. Eric Kipkoech Mutai, the Governor of Kericho County, hereby terminates. And the Senate now stands adjourned.
Well, still on matters impeachment, but of the Deputy President, thus Chief Justice Martha Koome has appointed a bench of 3 judges who will hear and determine petitions filed by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, even as his impeachment fate is set to be discussed and determined before the Senate plenary on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Now, that is Koome appointed Justice Eric Ogola, Anthony Murima and Frida Mugambi to hear the petition filed by the DP. Now, this came after Gachagua, through his legal team led by Paul Mwite, petitioned the High Court to have the matter referred to the Chief Justice to constitute a 3-judge bench to hear the case where he was challenging the impeachment process. Gachagua is set to face the Senate over various allegations that the National Assembly found him guilty of, including the gross violation of the Constitution. Well, away from that is that Kenyans have elicited mixed reactions following the Kenya government's move to sign a power deal with India's Adani Energy Group worth of 95 billion Kenya shillings. Now, speaking after signing of the deal on Friday, that is 11th October, Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi said that through stakeholders' engagement was conducted before, or rather thorough stakeholder engagement was conducted before finalizing the agreement to ensure all concerns were addressed. Now, the signing of the deal comes as it emerged that the group is laying the groundwork to expand its venture into Kenya with a new plan to construct hydroelectric plant. Now, as Tess Njenga reports, the Felix Matekwa, an advocate from the city of Eldoret, has raised concerns over the public-private partnership.
Despite an uproar by Kenyans against the Adani Group public-private partnership with the government, last week Kenya signed a power deal with India's Adani Energy Group worth 95 billion shillings to construct 422 kilometers of vital transmission lines. According to Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi, the agreement marks a shift in the power transmission across the country. Hope TV was in the streets of Nairobi for a spot check in the capital city, asking residents of their take on the Adani Kenya Energy Partnership. This is what they had to say.
Adani venye ilianza kutoka 2010 baba akiwa prime minister. Na hiyo Adani kwa saa hii na hii maisha yenye tunapitia iko sawa. Kulingana na ile renovation yenye itafanya modern airport. Sasa hii kuna corruption airport kila mahali, ambapo ndo kwa maana airport ina leak nini, hata investors hawezi ingia. So ndo tumeonelea hiyo Adani hata kichukua hiyo wanasema ita hand over after 30 years, hiyo itakuwa sawa.
Mimi kama mkaaji wa hapa Embakasi naonelea kuwa iko sawa, sababu Jomo Kenyatta International Airport ni airport iko international, ambapo hapa sasa ukielekea huko huwezi ona kama ni international, juu ni chafu, maji na rig. So Adani akichukua hiyo, naona kama mambo itakuwa mbaya.
Hiyo bill ya Adani na whatever that they are saying, mi sioni kama ni genuine, sababu hakuna mtu mwenye ako competitive enough ama mtu mwenye anaweza kuchukua hiyo kampuni yetu ama airport kuliko hao wengine.
In the deal, Ketraco and Adani Energy will operate, maintain transmission lines and substations for 30 years in a bid to curb power blackouts. Speaking on the partnership, Felix Matekwa, a freelance advocate from the city of Eldoret, acknowledged the importance of such partnerships, however noting that 30 years is a long time to grant the Adani Group mandate in the energy sector.
Kenyans are still talking about Adani and airport. Before the dust even settles down, now Adani is in the KPLC. What does Adani really want? Our concern is that the duration is 30 years is too long, and the terms in that deal between the Adani and the airport. Adani will be in charge of nearly everything. They are going to run the airport. Even the place of the Kenya airport's workers is not really known in this deal. That is why the airport workers were also, they had a strike actually. So they are worried because they are not assured whether all of them are going to be absorbed by the Adani people.
During the conversation, Mateka expressed shock over the AUC chairperson candidate Raila Odinga's support for the deal. While addressing the media on Sunday, Raila defended the controversial contract, praising the Adani Group as a renowned and reliable company.
The other day when he came into the media and said, Adani, we know what he said. And believe me, many Kenyans are shocked. They didn't expect that from the former Prime Minister. I can tell you for free, they didn't. Now, where we are right now, the government is for Adani. Will the court stop Adani? If you were to ask me, I don't think so. If you were to ask me, this is a done deal and Kenyans should just move on and leave Adani where it is.
A section of Nairobi residents have expressed their support for the Adani government deal, citing the importance of development in the country, as some have expressed their reservations on the deal. Now it is just a matter of time to see just how far the Adani government deal or partnership will bring development or not in the country. Reporting for Hope TV News Watch, I'm Tess Njenga.
Well, that right there is Tess Njenga. Many thanks for the report. Away from that, the International Commission of Jurists, ICJ Kenyan section, has continued to pile pressure on the government to fully abolish the death penalty from the Constitution, terming it as inhuman. Now, the organization further wants the introduction of alternative punishment methods that do not breach the right to life of individuals in death row. Now, this comes even as statistics from the Kenya Prison Service indicate that 101 Kenyans are in death row to date. As Kenya joined other countries to mark World Day Against the Death Penalty, ICJ Kenya hosted a conference that brought together different partners who championed for the abolishment of death penalty from the Constitution.
Mine is more towards.
Addressing the press during the meeting, Honorable Justice John Mativo noted that Kenya has made significant strides in stopping death penalty, a move he says is slowly pushing the country to fully erase the death penalty from its book of law.
We have a category of offenders who are now being told we cannot help you, you have to go suffer death because the law stands as it is. Otherwise, we are looking forward to more development of the law, to a situation whereby we eliminate the death penalty from our law books, because that's the only way to go about it. So long as it exists, our courts are bound to follow what the law says. And that becomes a bit difficult when you are sentencing. You have no discretion to impose an appropriate sentence depending on the nature of the offense, the circumstances in which it was committed, and so on.
While lauding Kenya for having not executed any prisoner for over 30 years, ICJ Kenya Deputy Executive Director Demas Kiprono castigated death penalty, noting that there are alternative punishment methods that equal justice other than execution.
Death penalty does not offer safety to anyone. It is not a deterrent to crime. And so that we move towards where the world is going, where we seek to rehabilitate persons who have been found to have done crime. We seek to, as a society, not punish with a view of revenge, but punish with a view of seeking justice.
Julie Wayua, the program manager at ICJ Kenya, reiterated the need to critically evaluate the impact of death penalty to the society and provide progressive alternatives that would safeguard the rights of those on death row.
As Kenya is currently being reviewed next year in the UPR, we hope that we can push the government of Kenya to ratify the second optional protocol on the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, because that actually talks about the abolition of the death penalty, and that is important. Kenya has now taken a seat at the Human Rights Council, and we hope that we can then progress and push for laws that are actually in tandem with the human rights treaties and ensure that Kenya takes its place as forthcoming countries and countries that are pushing for human rights laws to be really to the gold standard.
France has reassured its partners of their support to bring to an end the death penalty by onboarding decision makers to accelerate their efforts.
We believe that, as you said, the abolitionist movement is gaining traction and is gaining ground. We do want to work with civil society organizations and voices, including on the African continent and in Kenya in particular. And we feel that we have a partnership here in Kenya. We hear a lot of loud voices calling for the abolition of death penalty.
As the ongoing campaign to have Kenya abolish the death penalty in totality continue gaining momentum, it is a wait and see whether the legislators will heed to calls from the legal actors and fast-track the Penalty Code Amendment Bill presented before the House by former Minority Leader and Ogunja Member of Parliament Opio Wandai.
Abolish the death penalty now!
For Newswatch, I'm Sammy Adika. Well, away from that, in a colorful event, Christ is the Answer Ministries Woodley Assembly turned 30 years since its establishment. Now leading the celebrations was Sitam presiding Bishop Callisto Odede, who, in the spirit of taking new territories, urged the congregants to not slow down on their mission of spreading the gospel. Now, Sitam Woodley Senior Pastor Juliet Mahugu reiterated the significance of the assembly in empowering congregants to be spiritually mature.
We were struggling because we would fill the service, so we started holding actually 3 services every Sunday, very exhausting, ministering 3 times on a Sunday, but the Lord was very gracious, and I'm glad that it has grown to what it is today and making the kind of impact that it is making today. Our prayer is that the river of God that's flowing among them will continue to touch both the neighborhood and even beyond the neighborhood, even other towns, as they continue to serve the Lord together. We thank God for what He's doing. And as we step out with the theme of this celebration that still more ground to be conquered, my message is that each and every member counts. Every individual is a carrier of the presence of God, and so wherever they are, wherever they go, they need to consider themselves as agents of God and an extension of God's presence, so that more people would come to know the Lord through members of Sitam Woodley. May God use you all in a tremendous way.
One other thing that I really celebrate about Woodley is the pace setting. Can I call it a principle, a concept of pace setting? We have pace set in the area of married couples care groups, in the area of leadership development program, and we continue to do exploits in many other areas. As a person, one of the things that I've really emphasized is the area of prayer. We have just come from a 30 days prayer marathon where we've been praying online 5 to 6 a.m. daily, having different teams lead and fast on that day. And to see the success of today is testament that God answers prayer.
Well, right there, we are transitioning now to our day's conversation. In a couple of minutes from now, we will be joined by Moses Kimanzi, a lawyer, political and governance expert who will be helping us understand the state of our nation. As we speak right now, there are a lot of issues that are happening, from matters to do with impeachment to matters that have just arisen, or rather matters that were just brought forth by the council that is defending, that is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, matters to do with the loopholes within our constitution. What are some of these loopholes and the implementation process? Is it that there are loopholes, or is it that we do have a weak implementation of our policies by those mandated to implement the specific policies that are there? Well, don't go too far, for we shall be having a very interesting conversation right here on the Dialogue KE.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
Wake up every morning to an exciting moment of worship. With a powerful inspiration from God's word.
Psalm 84 verse 4 says, "Blessed are those that abide, that dwell in the house of God." The blessing is on those that dwell, those that abide. They have made the house of God their abode.
The kingdom of God is already with us in the present time we are in, but it will also be fully realized at the end of the age. But the kingdom has been prepared by God.
On Hope Devotion every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Only on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content, of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Hope TV presents News on the Go every day at 4 p.m. for all the breaking news and news making headlines. Hope TV, look and live.
Well, welcome back to the broadcast. This is the Dialogue KE right here at Hope TV with me, Sammy Adika. And tonight we are going to have quite engaging discussion with regards to the state of the nation. And joining me right now is Moses Kimanzi, a lawyer, political and governance expert. Karibu sana, Moses.
Asante.
Well, I'm glad to have you tonight. Now, last week, Friday, InfoTrack did release a report indicating that 73% of Kenyans are not confident that the country is headed towards the right direction from where you sit as an individual.
Yes.
Where do you stand with the 73% or the remaining 27%?
Let me stand with the 73.
Why would you say so? What are some of the factors you weigh?
Well, everything is in plain, it's in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think we have not yet prioritized what we need to prioritize.
Mm.
We've not put in place what needs to be put in place to give confidence to Kenyans that we are headed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would stand with the 73.
Well, we shall be right back talking about basically the Kenya Kwanza government manifesto, some of the issues raised, issues to do with lowering the cost of living and all these other issues that Kenyans continue saying that the country is really not headed towards the right direction. But right now we are talking about impeachment. We've had the deputy, that is President Rigathi Gachagua. His case is now turning out to, or rather highlighting different issues within our law.
Yes.
As a lawyer, we are now hearing other issues to do with is rather our constitution, are there loopholes? Does it have loopholes?
Well, in what aspect exactly?
Because right now we are hearing that the Senate wants the Chief Justice, that is Martha Koome, to clearly state jurisdictions. Will they continue with the case as the Deputy President? Now, as we speak, he had gone to court.
Yes.
Requesting the court to stop the Senate plenary hearing of his case.
Now, on matters constitution, what is not expressly provided for in the constitution, then the courts are available for interpretation. And this is the first of a kind. We've never had another impeachment motion against a sitting deputy president.
Yes.
So we are likely to see a lot of firsts in this. A lot of things are not very clear in law regarding the impeachment process, regarding the public participation. And what the parliament ought to have done is to enact legislation to support, because what the constitution does is it gives a general framework. It gives some, let's call it a guideline. Yes, so to go to the specifics, then there should have been a legislation. For example, on timelines, it is not clear how long is supposed to take for an impeachment from start to finish. That is a clear loophole. We do not have a legislative framework on public participation. Whereas we may appreciate what we had now, because that was, again, a step in the right direction, where we had the public come and voice their concerns regarding the impeachment process of the deputy president.
Yes.
And therefore, we had a conversation. What now seems to be seen, or what we are now looking to see what will happen, is whether it was done above board, whether it was done constitutionally, whether that is what was expected in a public participation. When the issue gets to the courts, now we will get a lot of clarity regarding those issues.
Well,
but the defense team for the deputy president has put up a good case. We just wait to hear the outcome.
How it will go.
Yes.
Talking about public participation, it's been a discussion that no one really wants to engage in,
Yes.
whether it was done the right way or not the right way. Looking at how things happened, to talk about the time, talk about the number of Kenyans who were engaged, and the events that took place during the public participation.
Yes.
Would you confidently say that it was well done?
My opinion, it was not free and fair. I wouldn't say it was not well done, because I've already said it was a step in the right direction, so I would be contradicting myself. But I believe that it was not free and fair, because in most cases where public participation was happening, then the proponents of the impeachment were the ones getting a lot of airtime, a lot of hearing, and the conversation clearly was leaning towards one direction.
Yes.
I also stand to believe that we should have an independent body that should oversee that. In this case, I believe we should have involved the IEBC. But as I said, we do not have a proper legislative framework yet, a proper legal framework. So it's upon now the parliamentarians whom we have given or delegated our authority to legislate or to make laws,
Yes.
so that they give us a good legislation and a guideline on public participation. Because if I am for something and you are against, I should get my time to be heard,
Yeah.
and you get your time as well. I believe we were all watching, and that is not what happened.
Now, bring me to the issue to do with of course, we've had impeachments, and right now, this, just as you stated, this is the first of its kind that we are having a deputy president being impeached. Now, every time we've had governors being brought forth, they all say it doesn't hold waters, the evidence doesn't hold waters. It is just basically a political witch hunt.
Yes.
What kind of pace are we setting for those in leadership? Is there a way that any evidence brought forth doesn't hold water? Or is there a way that our leaders, the legislators, can interrogate the evidence properly?
Well, I'll still go back to the timeline factor. If you are keen to see what was happening today, is that the defense team of the deputy president had a lot of evidence and supporting documents for their case. Loaded in a van. And if that is to be heard on Wednesday and on Thursday, well, I do not know for sure whether they will have gone through everything as they ought to. But the issue of impeachment is fairly political as well as a legal process. Political in the sense that it starts with the political wing. All right? So somebody moves the motion in Parliament, it is voted for in Parliament, that is political. However, when it comes to the legal perspective of it, then you realize that the evidence that you should produce, the threshold is quite high. You have to substantiate your claims. You have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And our law says that he who alleges must prove. So if I'm tabling a motion to impeach a deputy president on certain grounds, then I should prove those grounds. If I'm unable to prove them, then definitely it will not hold water. And that is why now we stand to watch a serious battle in the Senate of legal minds as they tackle issue by issue all the 11 grounds that were alleged against the deputy president, and each side will table what they think they have on their case, and then the Senate will decide. Should the Senate not decide, well, there is still room. There is an application that was made for the Chief Justice to form a bench to listen to the issues even before they get to the Senate, and the court will rule on that tomorrow. So we cannot talk about that now because already it is an issue before court. But again, it's a wait or watch and see situation. Yes.
Talking about it being the first of its kind, would the issue not really worry the head of state because it is the first for the deputy president? Would it not worry the president himself that a time might also come, or rather be it the current president or a future president, that it might also be the first of its kind?
Well, it should. I can't speak for him. I don't know whether it worries him where he is, but it should for two reasons. That one, the institutions that we set out in the Constitution are under test right now. If the Senate quashes the decision of the National Assembly, then the credibility of the National Assembly will be in question. Again, if the Senate upholds the decision and it goes to court, and the courts find that the case has no merit, again, the very institutions of the National Assembly and the Senate again will have been in trouble. Not to prejudice the case in any way. I'm just giving a flat analysis of the issue. So what we need to watch is and ask ourselves is a few questions. Like the political question. Is it just enough to impeach somebody in office just because you can get 2/3 in the National Assembly, for example? or get another 2/3 in the Senate? That's a question that Kenyans are waiting to be answered by the courts.
Yeah.
Because again, the decision of the court will take this whole issue on another level.
Yeah.
So we are done with the political part. Now the issue is before the Senate, and we stand to see how the issue will turn up. Politically, the deputy president needs 23 senators to survive. I don't know what strategy he has or he doesn't have. Again, we will wait and see, because once the matter reached Senate, then it was to be decided whether a committee would interrogate the issue. But that motion that was tabled by the majority leader in the Senate was not seconded and did not see the light of day. So now the issue will go before the plenary, that is before all the senators.
Yes.
And it will be voted for, like what you saw with the issue of the Kericho governor today. Yes.
Now bring me back to the Kericho governor. We saw an interesting turn of events right there, and everyone was waiting to see how that specific impeachment case would go. Of course, we've had a list of governors who've been taken to Senate before. We had Martin Wambora. He actually survived throughout the 10 years.
That was the longest survivor. But before Wambora, there was the former senator for Makueni.
Yeah, Makueni.
Kibutha Kibwana.
Yeah.
He really fell out badly with the MCS. And they troubled him the first time. But he also survived.
Yes.
Then Martin Wambora, also a former governor, because now there's another governor. He survived.
Yes.
He had more than 9 lives, I would say.
Yes. Then we also had Ferdinand Waititu, who was actually impeached throughout. Mike Sonko, the same.
The same.
Then we had Mohamed Abdi Mohamed, that is Wajir governor.
Yes.
Then we had Anne Waiguru, slightly 2020, Mwangi Wairia. We had Granton Samboja, that is right at Veta, Paul Chepkoni, Eric Mutai, Gaura Mwangaza, who is actually surviving till date. We are still waiting to see how her case will, the outcome of the court right there. But an interesting bit about Mutai's impeachment. The Senate decided to vote to do away with the hearing.
Yes.
Which is actually a win. But one of the issues he presented was the 2/3 issue that you are actually talking about. Would it be a joy in the ride for, or rather a ride in the park for the specific individuals who were fronted to the Senate?
Well, I think it was just a lesson that those people, that the MCAs who bring up an impeachment motion should have done their homework before it reaches the Senate. Because the issue in contention was whether 31.3 is 31 or 32.
Yes.
Yes.
So that is the only thing.
And that question right there determined everything. Yes.
So it's just about MCS doing their homework before going to the Senate.
Before going to the Senate.
Because we all had, that is the Speaker of the Senate, terming that sitting as it didn't actually reach the required threshold.
Yes.
Now, it is the same case we've seen before with a couple of these governors that we mentioned before.
Yes.
It's either 2/3 or something close to that.
Yes.
The MCS did not do their homework well. Now, the issue to do with how then does the governors cement a good, or rather build a good relationship with the MCS, because we understand there is a big disparity. Once you are not impeached, you now go back to your county office. You're expected to lead a county, and MCS are under you. You're supposed to lead them to give them a sense of direction. How then does a governor cement such a relationship?
Well, I think there is something the framers of the Constitution envisaged But when it came to the implementing part, it has proven a headache.
Yes.
Governor was not supposed to be a political office. It was supposed to be an administrative office. And that's why the governor has his own cabinet, the CECs, and a whole structure by himself. But then the governor's operations are determined by MCAs who have to pass all the budgets for the governor to be able to function.
Yes.
So we are having a problem where you find, for instance, governor belongs to party X, and his party does not have the majority in the county assembly. So right there, when they start their operations, you discover that there is a lot of problems because of party positions, because of some superiority wars, and that has been experienced in many counties. So I think one of the things we need to relook at is, again, how we gave the MCAs powers to impeach and on what grounds. And also we need to have a proper legislative framework that would ensure that governors and MCAs work despite their political differences.
Yeah.
Because what we have been experiencing, starting with the most recent, which is Governor Kawira Mwangaza, he came in as an independent candidate.
Yes.
And so she does not have MCAs per se.
Yeah.
All right? So when it comes to lobbying for something, she has a problem.
Yeah.
So now that would call for the MCAs to have an upper hand, now to go and make demands to her, for example.
Yeah.
If you don't do this for us, then we will not do this for you. And then there, the working relationship starts to get strained. And when it gets to that point, then you realize that nothing can happen.
Yes.
It gets to a point where it's even difficult to work. Yes.
Now, allow me now divert to the current issues that the country is facing. Yesterday, we saw Raila Amolo Odinga, the AUC chair candidacy person. He outrightly defended Adani, an issue that many Kenyans don't really either understand or are just swayed by the issue to do with our leader says this is the way, this is the way.
And that is the way.
So from where you sit, is he still playing his opposition role? And also what the other day Edwin Sifuna outrightly said, that ODM may partly be in government, but we shall still play our role as oversight. Is there a bone of contention? Are they contradicting themselves, or are they fully in government from just where you sit?
They have joined the government. That's the truth. However we look at it, we cannot run away from the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So most likely he is speaking the same.
And therefore he had to defend that position. Yes. Because of his interests with the government. Right now he cannot afford to fight the government. We understand him. And when he made that statement, it was a necessary statement for him, but again, he also could have maybe decided not to say anything at all. So he just chose for his own reasons to make the statement he made, which as a person, we cannot say he's wrong because he's entitled to his opinion. He just gave his own opinion. And I think even from where Kenyans sit, Kenyans do not have a problem with Adani. In fact, if you ask somebody who is Adani, they may not know.
Yes.
Kenyans have a problem with there not being transparency on the supposed deals with Adani. You see, where a private public partnership is involved, the name public suggests that it involves the public. So the public should be aware of what deals are exactly being transacted, if any. And again, the issue of public participation comes into play. Yes. Because again, you cannot say that you are representing the public and you have not heard their views on that certain issue. So, on the issue of Adani, for instance, we should have had such a robust public participation and then get the views of Kenyans, come and explain why it has to be Adani. Some news has been coming around that before that deal, the Ketraco deal that is now being given to Adani is about to be signed, that Safaricom had been approached to offer the same services, and they gave their quote, which was allegedly lower. It was running to 43, 44 billion.
Yes, right now we're doing 95.
Now we are doing 95 billion, which is 50 something billion more. And therefore we would need to understand what is this that Adani is coming with that no one else can come up with. Of course, there are advantages, massive advantages of a public-private partnership where the government can delegate some projects, let me use that word, to cover a broad spectrum.
Yes.
So it can cover projects which will be identified by government but conceptualized and seen to completion, funded by the private entity, and then they would negotiate for some concession of some taxes, and then they agree the profit arising from the venture, how it will benefit whoever has funded and for how long. But most PPPs run from 20 to 30 years or beyond. Yes, depending on the magnanimity.
Talking about transparency and the period.
Yes.
Yeah, 20 to 30 years. We just had Tess Njenga taking a look at Kenyans, their interest with their take between Adani and the Kenya Kwanza government, whatever is happening. Most of them, including the lawyer she managed to interview, questioned why it should be that long.
All right. I also think the same because we have structures for our hydroelectric power. I do not know what exactly we are looking to get that we don't already have. The only visible arrangement that has been disclosed is that once this deal comes into play, then we will no longer have blackouts. Again, that is not a good reason to extend such a long period. So again, the secret is in the details. Until we have the details, we will not be able to interrogate and to question it the right way. Yes.
Now, an interesting bit with regards to the issue to do with Adani, apart from what Raila talked about yesterday with regards to Adani, we also saw Kalonzo Musyoka coming in the picture. Is he the opposition leader per se, and does he have the muscles?
Well, we cannot call him the opposition leader because again, that has been clearly defined. the party that has the second most members
Yes.
shall automatically assume the opposition
Leader.
So I don't think Wiper has the numbers to command that title. Yes.
But I've seen
But
him.
for his political relevance, he has to appear.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
So in short, whatever he is doing together with Jeremiah Kioni, there is Eugene Omalwa and a few others, and they're just trying to front a move to still remain relevant within the political sphere.
From where I sit, that is the case, exactly.
And do you think come 2027 they will have the muscles from basically how Wiper is structured, the number of supporters he's got across the country, together with the new DAPK party?
Well, I think you and I are Kenyans, and we know how Kenyan politics works. I will not comment on that 2027 thing, but I will say this. For there to be a serious political muscles to outweigh the sitting government, then there has to be a better strategy than we are seeing. Yes.
So they have to really work on some of these structures.
Yes. And again, this impeachment that we are talking about, its success or failure, again will also point something towards the 2027 elections.
So it's a matter of...
It's a matter of both cards. You see, politics is a game of chess. So you do your calculations and you pray that they are right calculations, because if they are wrong calculations, then you stay out in the cold for 5 years.
Or even more.
Or even more, yes.
Yeah, depending with how well and quick you're able to play.
Yes.
Now, bringing us back to the entire issue of transparency and what has been happening, we now have a new movement, the Gen Z movement, or rather the youthful movement that the old political class never foresaw.
Yes.
They never expected it would come this soon, that is, if it was to come.
Mhm.
What does it mean in the political sphere? Because I understand you've been there, you are still there within this political sphere. You've been an aspirant before. What weight does the youth hold when it comes to civic participation and elections per se?
The youth have a role to play. I will say that without any fear of contradiction. However, the Gen Z movement was not well thought out. And you see, the problem with arising before the right time is that you are declared politically dead on arrival. There is something that the Gen Zs could have done that they did not do. And therefore they will be, in my opinion, inconsequential in 2027.
Yeah.
Remaining leaderless was not a good idea. Them not having their own political party was not a good idea.
Yes.
Because in politics, part of political capital is a political party. And I would interest you to know that the woes of the deputy president now are partly because he does not have a political party. He came to the negotiating table without a political party.
Yes.
And that was very risky and disastrous because in politics, you don't trust 100%. Because you can be betrayed anytime.
Would you say that...
I mean, who knew, who would have guessed
yeah.
that the president and the former prime minister would be speaking the same language someday?
I remember himself, that is the president, saying, maneno ya handshake is a no.
Yes. Now,
slightly.
Those are called politics. Now, in politics, there are a lot of issues at stake. I'll bring you slightly back to the previous administration.
Yes.
And the current deputy president should have learned from the former deputy president, who is now the president, when he realized that there was going to be a problem in Jubilee, and he was going probably to be ousted from the party, he registered his party quietly and put his cards close to his chest.
Yeah.
I remember the first by-election that UDA won. That is when now it started appearing that...
That is Kiamba.
Yes.
Yes.
That there was a good plan. That you, in politics, you should stay one step ahead. All right?
Yes.
I'll tell you this. If the deputy president had a party of his own and his people from the mountain came to the Kenya Kwanza using the same party, he would have had good political bargaining grounds to say, if you impeach me, I will withdraw my members.
Yeah.
And the cards would have been different. But right now, he seems cornered, lonely. All right? So those are called political calculations.
Yes.
Anytime you rise to power, politically, you need to make sure that you have covered your ground just in case things don't turn out the way you expected. And that is why when he made a presser, we were made to understand that there were some written agreements between different parties and the president's party. But then his was a word of mouth.
Yeah.
That is what is eating him now.
Was there need for him to disclose those...
Well, that is what he chose to do. He's entitled to it. I don't think it was necessary, but for his survival.
Yes.
You see, he's fighting for his job.
Yeah, you have to find...
he had to find a way of... He had to find a way of fighting. You see, when you say that I'm not going down without a fight, then you have to show that fight.
Yes.
So, we were in the issue of Gen Zs. Gen Zs should have had a party that can threaten the current regime such that they can be brought to the table.
Yeah.
Because you see, in politics, it's about numbers.
Yeah.
And what you bring to the table are those numbers. So nobody can really claim the Gen Z movement right now. So as to warrant a sit down with the political class for a share of the political cake. That was not a very good plan from the Gen Zs, from where I sit. So, but it's a good movement, and in future, it is going to impact, but not now.
It will take time.
It will take time, because the strategy was not well thought out. Yes. You see, you cannot afford to remain, for lack of a better word, you cannot afford to remain not very clear. You're just amorphous somewhere.
Yeah.
And not really clearly defined. That can work against you. Yes.
So you have to state what you want and how you're going to get it.
You have to have the numbers to shake the political atmosphere.
Yeah.
And definitely you are going to be heard. Now you are going to be brought to the table, and from there, the negotiations will start. Because again, in politics, there's a lot of negotiation.
Those are the cards that the youth need
Those are the cards that the youth need to learn.
Talking about governance, still on matters youth, we've seen others saying it is very easy to sway the youth. Today they will be here, tomorrow they will be on the other side. They're actually not predictable. but for those who've, like yourself, you've experienced what politics is from
Yes.
first hand. What is actually the problem with the youth? Is it that they lack the political muscle, they lack the voice, yet they have the energy? Or is it that their ideologies are not in tandem with what is currently happening? Because sometimes I wonder, they have the numbers, but they end up, when it comes to elections, someone you completely thought that they're saying no to is someone they're running to.
Well, that is what happens because, again, a lot of factors come into play where politics is involved. One of the cards is called the economic card. The youth are not economically empowered.
Yeah.
And that is the disadvantage that they have that works against them.
Yes.
Because what these established politicians do is they come and they use the youth to get numbers for them.
Yeah.
Now, what they are forgetting is that that is selling their birthright for a bowl of soup. You see, Kenyans, when the last census was done, more than 60% of the population was below 40 years. What does that tell you? That tells you that a majority of Kenyans are youth. And any serious politician has to have an agenda for youth. But now the youth need to reach that point where they have an agenda for themselves.
Yes.
That is what we are lacking. Except very few incidences where you hear of someone who didn't have money, they campaigned in bicycles, one or two.
The likes of John Paul.
Yes, the likes of John Paul. In very rare instances, one will get lucky and get to parliament, but his voice is not enough.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of stakes in that august house.
Yes.
People have put in serious money. You hear someone is campaigning with 100 million, 150 million to earn 1 million for 5 years. You will not even have recouped that money.
Yes.
But when you get to the logics, you realize there is something that we don't know about that house that those who are there know.
Yeah.
So we need to slowly craft the agenda of the youth, and they need to claim their rightful place.
Yes.
If we get to a place like the way they came all up in arms against the finance bill, if we had an election like that, where the youth said we are simply voting people on ideologies, and we are voting in people who have our interests at heart, then the whole political sphere would change. But as it is now, we have a problem with the electorate who sees Mheshimiwa, and the first thing, even before they open their mouths, is umekuja na nini? Tuachie kitu. You see? And then it becomes the interest of the person you voted for to make sure you are impoverished, so that he will use the same strategy the next time he comes to ask for votes. You see, in a scenario where you improve the lives of people such that everyone has a certain level of economic empowerment, you realize that that threatens the politician. Because again, politics has a lot of fallacy. You have to tell the people what they want to hear, even if it is not the truth. And that's another problem with our politics.
Yes.
Right? That's why you realize that most politicians are branded liars because they say things. I mean, just give a politician a microphone and a crowd. The excitement.
Yeah.
the kind of energy that is rejuvenated in them, they find themselves talking.
Yes.
You ask them, what did you say? They'll tell you it was in the heat of the moment.
Yes.
So again, we need to structure our politics in such a way that we can hold our leaders to account.
Yes.
You came here, we elected you, you told us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is your scorecard.
Yes.
We are kicking you out. But the same person will come back with money and more promises after not fulfilling the earlier ones or the initial ones. And then you realize that the same people who you are sure are not going to give that person a chance, they have done so.
Yes. What will be your parting shot with regards to the state of the nation today as we speak with, from the political sphere, governance sphere, and basically where the nation is headed?
I think we have done a lot of politicking so far. It's time to get to work. We cannot be continuously in a cycle of politicking, year in, year out, at the expense of development, at the expense of the lives of Kenyans.
Yes.
We are not doing well economically. We are not doing well in many other spheres as a country.
Yes.
We need to put the right structures, and we need to have priorities. We should have talked about that Shifsha thing. It was not necessary. There was nothing wrong with NHIF, for instance. We should have bettered it slowly. Right now, everything is at a standstill. Patients are suffering, and there is nothing much going on. All this was not necessary. We need to think about our people. We need to think about what works best for our people and what our people need at a given time. All these things, they are Danny deals and all those things. For me, they are just not what we need right now.
Yes.
Yes.
That is Moses Kimanzi telling us that what we need is more important than what specific individuals want.
Yes.
Many thanks for joining us tonight right here at the Dialogue KE. That was Moses Kimanzi, a lawyer, political and also governance expert, just trying to help us understand the state of the nation as we speak tonight. My name is Sammy Adika, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Mureithi. Do have a wonderful night. Until next time, goodbye.